Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Maîtres du Temps Chapter 3. You can see this 42mm 18-karat white gold product of Andreas Streller and Kari Voutilainen on our website. Please subscribe to our channel if you enjoy these videos and click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with prices, accessories included, and additional high resolution images. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. This is a formal watch in detail, but it's a modern watch in size and proportion. 42 across the round of the case, a robust 50 from one side of these sensuous lugs to its opposite number. It is 14 millimeters thick, so it sits fairly high on the wrist, but with a generously sloped case flank and a nice compatible concave bezel that'll easily slip under a dress cuff or sleeve. This is an easy watch to wear with formal attire, especially if you like your sleeves and your cuffs long and tight. And the bottom line is, even though it is 50 from lug to lug, on my small wrist, it has no trouble sitting securely. The ergonomic success of this watch derives from the beautiful camber of the case. Now you can see the lugs are sharply downturned. They don't project too far beyond the flank of the case, so sports watch style, they begin to wrap around your wrist. While the watch is big, it does contour to the curvature of your forearm, sitting securely. Now the other part of the ergonomic equation is a strap that goes above and beyond. If you're familiar with premium alligator leather, if you're familiar with calfskin underlays, you really have to experience this because this is a cut above, it is a strap removed. It's equal to the occasion of this case, this dial, and this movement, and you can feel it in the hand. It's definitely superior to standard issue. This is high horology in leather form. Now you can also see that the watch has semi-conforming spring bars, so it doesn't completely close the gap between case and strap, so you can pull the strap straight down around the curvature of a smaller wrist, but it does create a more integrated look, such that there's less daylight between strap and case. More integrated, more fluid. It's paired with a beautiful 18-karat white gold clasp that matches the case, but it is that case, those lugs, that bezel, and the dial that define the look of this watch. Now you can see it's fairly baroque. Many compound curves. You can see how the lugs fall off to the sides at the same time that they thrust downward. The bezel, like many contemporary Patek Philippe models, is concave, so it actually slopes inward before ramping up to the domed sapphire crystal, and it is a slightly domed sapphire. It has just a little bit of loft to it. If you're familiar with the work of Kari Voutilainen, you'll see the family resemblance here. If you've seen his GMR, the Van Wheat, the GMT6, you can definitely see where this design is coming from, but it's not simply Kari transposed. Maîtres du Temps takes great watchmakers, some of the best of our era: Daniel Roth, Christophe Claret, obviously Andreas Streller, Kari Voutilainen, Peter Speake-Marin, and brings them together for collaborations. This is the Chapter 3, so the third watch that the company has produced since its 2005 inception. This one is a little bit more discreet, both in form and in operational principle, than the Chapters 1 and 2. You can see the hands, reminiscent of Kari, but not Kari's. You can see the guilloche, again, reminiscent of Kari, but not quite his. And the Roman numerals, again, inspired by his work, but not duplicates. Where Andreas Streller comes into the equation is in the integration of hidden complication. Hidden complexity. And you can see this watch is a dual time. It is a GMT. It has twin roller barrels for the 24 hours down at 6 o'clock and a day-night indicator, a beautiful miniature painted barrel with day-night faces, and it is executed by hand. You can even get these customized from the manufacturer. They're quite detailed and they're worthy of loop examination in their own right, and you can do that from either side of the watch. But when you press the crown, the trap doors become completely flush with the dial, such that you cannot even see the seam between the traps and the dial itself. Now the watch does have a moon phase, it does have a date, it does have petite seconds, but it is that dual time function that defines this watch's character. Now Andreas Streller conducted most of the production engineering of the watch and also the integration of the complication. His signature, in addition to actually designing tooling that's used to make the watches he builds, is finding ways to make complexity seamless and simple. Naturally, it's anything but the apparent face of the watch, the apparent face of the complication, is quite elegant. Now, the watch does have a couple of wrinkles, a few things that are best demonstrated, harder to describe than they are to show. there are barrels at the bottom, 2 of them side by side, that actually jump every 12 hours. And when you pull the crown to its extremity to continue setting the watch, now I'm setting both the GMT, second time zone, and the local time at center in sync, you can see how the barrels jump every 12 hours. And that's precisely how it works, which is why, despite a robust mainspring, this watch has a 36-hour power reserve. It's the continuous jumping of the barrels that drains the autonomy of the watch. Now, there is a decoupler at 9 o'clock, and the function of the decoupler is to take the local time at center and the GMT time, the second time zone, out of sync, so you can effectively adjust the hands at center. Once you've got everything synchronized and you have the GMT where you want it, you decouple, and then you're able to adjust the hands at center without having the barrels rotate and jump. So you can have 2 separate time zones, or you can simply use that second time zone as an AM/PM 24-hour clarification for the time at center. There is a subtle intermediate crown position that's used to adjust the moon phase and the date. Now, when you turn the watch over, you can see once again that Kari-Voutilainen and pedigree. Now, what you're seeing here is the SHC-03 movement, and what sets it apart is that, quite frankly, it has the most unique dual-time display I've ever encountered in my time in high horology. Now, the watch does have outstanding finish, but we should talk about the nuts and bolts first. Now, the watch has a 21,600 vibration per hour oscillation rate. It has what's known as a Strawman hairspring, but with Breguet overcoil. Free sprung, it features manual wind with 36 hours of power reserve, pivoting on 39 joules. Now, you can see the barrels, which are a Maîtres du Temps signature design element. Here they're hidden. They're a little bit more overt on the chapters 1 and 2, but again, it would be out of character of this watch to be flagrant, overt, and extrovert. Now, you can see they're beautifully finished, so you can admire the miniature painting of the moon side of the AM/PM indicator here, but you can also admire the finishing of the movement itself. Now, this is definitely a cut above. These are not standard Côte de Genève. They have a gorgeous texture, and you can see they have a gradient. Very bright on one side, they become very dark as they approach their opposite number, and there's sort of a swishing or sort of rhythmic pulse to the gradient of these Côte de Genève. They're beautiful and they're works of art in their own right, but it is the anglage of this bridge, and you can see right here what I talk about when I talk about anglage and the mirrored finish that can only be executed by hand. You've seen shear cut angles that are representative of machine finish, ubiquitous in the watch industry. This is anything but. It's rounded, it gleams, you can see how it lights up as I move it through the light of my light box, and everything else is to the same standard. All of the screw heads are beautifully polished. This movement has interior angles, and you can see one right there at center. Not afraid to take on the toughest single element in movement finishing. The interior angle anglage, and it's beautifully executed. There's an even and tight perlage pattern across the base plate. Of course, not only are the screw heads polished, but their slots are chamfered, as are their circumferences. This is beautiful execution, and it is the complexity behind the simplicity of the dial. You can see this modern-day masterpiece, the Maîtres du Temps Chapter 3, and you can purchase it on our website.